Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, Kentucky Derby qualifying points on the line at the fairgrounds on Saturday in race number 14. It's the Grade 3 Lecomte going a mile and a 16th. Let's take a look at this field of 3-year-olds. 8 entered the Grade 3 Lecomte, Mike, and the number 7 Instant Coffee, the number 8 Two Fills. They're both coming into this race off graded stakes wins at Churchill Downs at this distance, and they might actually be playable prices in here.
That to me, the most interesting thing about the race is going to just to be to see how it winds up getting back, because I do think the money could go to a few different horses. Personally, Dan, and I don't, we haven't talked about it yet. I don't know if you agree with me or not. I think the 7 Instant Coffee is the horse to beat in this race.
I'm a big fan of Instant Coffee, and we'll talk about him in a little bit, but we'll first throw up the Timeform US Pace Projector, because we have class horses like Instant Coffee and Two Fills, horses that have already proven themselves in the graded stakes ranks. You have some very impressive, well-bred, recent maiden winners, and you also have the possibility for a lone speed. Echo again breaks from the rail. He's very fast. He disappointed last time out somewhat in the Springboard Mile, but breaking from the rail, he's going.
Yeah, I won't argue with this pace projector at all. I don't know really how necessarily it's going to sort itself out behind this horse, but Echo again is probably making the lead in here, Dan. He's just a fast horse anyway, and he's got rail position.
Echo again, we'll talk about him, trained by Steve Asmussen, a son of Gunrunner, made a very nice first impression. Now, that was a sprint race at Saratoga, going 6.5 furlongs, and he made a pretty easy lead, but he looked very strong in the stretch, and I wonder if he's lost a little bit of his luster. You could make the argument in his second start, the Iroquois. He just got caught up in a very fast-paced duel in a race that went to closers, but he didn't have much finish in that race. And in his most recent start, the Springboard Mile, I thought he had a pretty easy lead, and the response wasn't there in the stretch.
Yeah, the last race is way more concerning to me than the Iroquois. And I listen, the Iroquois is not a race that I'm a big fan of. I don't think it's a great race overall, but he just went too fast early in there. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for that one. I don't really have an excuse for his most recent start, Dan. The pace was solid. It wasn't blazing. It was solid, but he was in charge of it. And not only was he no match for the winner, who, listen, the winner could certainly be a good horse. The runner-up, though, just had all kinds of trouble in that race and still easily outfinished Echo again for second. I don't know, man. I was disappointed last time, and I'd be very wary of betting him back here if he takes money.
Ken McPeak sends out the number 2 Dennington, who has already earned a stakes placing in a Derby qualifying points race in 2023. Third in the Smarty Jones on New Year's Day. Now, this horse hasn't shown much speed in his career. McPeak's going to put blinkers on. Maybe you can get him into the race a little bit sooner. He needs a little bit of a buyer boost, but he's not that far off the top contenders.
He's going to need, another step forward in here. Maybe a little bit of pace in front of him will help his chances a little bit, Dan. He got caught wide early last time, but then he was able to get over to the inside and just really was no factor in that race, getting up for third. I thought his race two-back was okay. The race that Instant Coffee won, the Kentucky Jockey Cup, that pace was not fast. So they raced in a tight pack. He sort of got caught behind horses for a ways in there. He was racing on pretty well at the end of that race, though.
Like Echo again, Dennington is by Gunrunner. The 3 is Bromley, an expensive son of Mastery, perfect 2 for 2 in his career for trainer Paulo Lobo, who trains 2 in this race. This horse is eligible to show a little bit of stretch out speed after scoring last time out from off the pace at Turfway Park. He did win his debut on dirt, and he looked good doing it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought he did, Dan. I actually thought he worked really hard to win that race, and I thought he earned that victory. It was a pretty good performance. I thought he ran just as well last time, winning on a different surface. Now they got to stretch him out. But, listen, I thought there was enough to like here that if he's some kind of big price, you could throw him in there somewhere.
Trainer Keith DeZormo's horses generally seem to improve with racing, and the 4 Confidence Game is slowly figuring things out. He won his second win in a first-level allowance race last time out, going a mile and a 16th at Churchill Downs, and he did so on the lead, which is something that he hadn't shown much of in the past. He can be in closest attendance to Echo again early. I'm not sure if he wants to be on too hard of a chase, but he is improving.
It's going to be interesting to see what kind of trip he can get. It kind of, at least as of now, Dan, looks like maybe he's better when he can be part of the pace. So we'll see if that's the case going forward. You'll note that when he won that race last time at Churchill Downs, same day as that Kentucky Jockey Club, He went more than a full second faster in winning his allowance race, but the pace was also a lot faster. And this horse was on the lead the entire way. I mean, he wasn't taking a lot of pressure up there, but he was moving right along. That pace was pretty solid.
Tapit's Conquest is the number 5. He is cross-entered in a race at the fairgrounds earlier on Saturday, but he fits if he runs in this spot. His second lifetime start was a nice performance at Churchill Downs in October. He got right up close to the pace, going that 2 turns despite breaking from a tough outside post, and he won very easily as the favorite.
Yeah, he did. This horse ran really well in his debut, sprinting at Saratoga, too. That was a good performance for a first-time starter, going 7 to have to make a run from off the pace and then try to come up the inside of the favorite in the stretch. This horse ran really well in his career debut. And it might look like he regressed last time to a 72. He didn't. He smashed that field. And they were trying to make the lead with him, Dan, and he got bothered on the first turn and really couldn't get there and had to sit on the outside. But once it was time to go, he crushed that field. I don't know, man. I kind of hope Cox runs him here because I think he can win this race.
A lot of eyes are on the number 6, Itzos, who sold for $1.4 million and is a 3/4 brother to the great Rachel Alexandra. This one's by Bolt d'Oro, by Rachel Alexandra's sire, Medaglia d'Oro. Showed speed and tired, going 7/8 on dirt. They ran him on the synthetic last time out at Turfway Park, and he ran to expectations. Despite not being the favorite, he looks like he's got a ton of potential.
Yeah, I hope that he turns out to be good. It was nice to see him take the step forward last time. I still, I wasn't blown away by that win, but he got the job done, Dan. I guess you could, just go easy on him for the debut going 7. He did not run well that day, but he did work hard chasing the pace, and the winner of that race might actually be really good.
Brad Cox trains the 7 Instant Coffee, and he was working right along with one of Cox's better 2-year-olds prior to his career debut. That was the very well-bred Verifying, who won the Travers Day Maiden and just won a recent race, an allowance, I believe, at the fairgrounds with a big Beyer speed figure. Instant Coffee got a good trip in his debut, pulled off the upset, then finished evenly in the Breeders' Futurity first time around 2 turns, but he got it done last time out in the Kentucky Jockey Club, and one of the horses he beat has already come back to win at Gulfstream with a 90 Beyer.
Yeah, did some good things in winning that race too, Dick, because we've already sort of talked about it a little, but the pace was really slow and they raced in a tight pack. This horse was always on the outside, but he was really game to get the job done there. And he was clear at the end of that race. I thought he ran well last time. Like you, I thought his debut was good. I just kind of think he's the horse to beat here.
Two Phils was a stakes-winning sprinter at Canterbury Park in late summer. They ran him in the Breeders' Futurity first time around 2 turns. He had a tough post. He finished behind Instant Coffee, but he rebounded with an upset victory in the Grade 3 Street Sense. That race was contested over a sloppy track. The 8th place horse out of that race came back to win a stake at the fairgrounds with a 90 Beyer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the wet track last time just sort of, calls that win into question at least a little bit, Dan. And it's not like even as well as he ran there, I don't think it's going to be good enough to beat this field. So I just kind of felt like he had to improve again, but maybe he'll do it.
Top pick time for our Kentucky Derby qualifying points race at the fairgrounds. Mike Tapit's Conquest. If he runs in here, you like him, and he's going to be a price.
Yeah, if he runs here, I'm betting him. So I hope that he does run here, because if he doesn't, I don't really like anyone else.
I was disappointed with Echo Again's last start, as much disappointed in that race as I was impressed by his debut going 6.5 at Saratoga. I'll give him one more chance to try to make the lead, back down the fractions, and sprint on home in the Grade 3 Lecomte for trainer Steve Asmussen. 5723 for Mike, 1247 for me. 200 grander and Derby qualifying points on the line. Race 14 at the fairgrounds on Saturday. Good luck.